Welcome back to the Bonsai Builders Podcast. I'm your host, Addison Galambos. A few weeks ago, or maybe about a month ago, we met 6 folks on the podcast who were competing in the Joshua Roth Styling Competition. That competition has since passed. We all had a great time, and I wanted to kind of bring us all back to kind of give some of our reflections. This group of people is really unique and an awesome group, and I'm really honored to have been a part of the competition and have met all of you. And so I wanted to kind of bring us back together to chat a little bit about our reflections from the actual event, and then, talk about what's next for all of us. So tonight I'm joined by Daniel, Ian, Ryan, Julius, and then Matthew couldn't join us tonight, but I will try to get him on the phone in a future episode to have a conversation. So welcome back to all of you. Does anybody want to, well, first of all, I guess congratulations, Daniel. Congratulations to all of us, but congratulations, Daniel, on the winning
Daniel.
tree.
Yeah, congratulations.
Hey, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
I was surprised. I was a bit surprised when they called my name. I mean, Ryan's was very well done as well, and it just like I was like, I hope I win. My mom would be so proud. I don't know. My mom didn't even know I was competing, but that's funny. No, it was a great time, and it was great meeting you guys and hanging out with you guys, and just sharing a drink afterwards, sharing that stress. I think that just whole combined anxiety that we all shared together during that time period, and then just the relief afterwards, and then just kind of hanging out and talking to each other. I think to me that was the best part for me.
You could really feel, I felt, the first time I felt the stress and like that was palpable was whenever they like sprung on us that they were going to decide the tree pick order based on playing a game of poker. I don't think any of us were expecting that. And so to me that added a little bit of like, whoa, this is unexpected. Like, I didn't know this variable was going to be in there, which was interesting.
Yeah, I knew about that. Like the night before he told me that, I was like, oh boy. He said, well, I want you guys to get to know each other. Marcus, that's Marcus Junior, who's kind of running it for Michael Roberts. He said, I want you guys to get to know each other. So we did a podcast. We know each other. It's fine.
Yeah, I do remember how to play poker.
So, I was a little surprised by the card game, but I thought it was kind of an interesting way to pick the trees. What were your guys' thoughts on, like, do you think? I mean, I got to pick first, so I'm a little biased, but what did you all think about the tree pick order based on kind of like luck of the draw and what that added or
I thought it was interesting. Yeah, I thought it was interesting because and Ryan having the inside scoop ahead of all of us, that's kind of interesting too. What else did he know ahead of time?
I knew you were gonna win. They told me beforehand.
Did they really?
No.
Oh yeah, I was about to say.
They told me I was gonna win. I paid them all that money for nothing.
No, but when they did the card thing, they decided the card thing. I guess like everybody else other than Ryan, I was a bit taken aback. I thought it was just going to be like random, choose a card, and that's the tree you get. I thought it was kind of cool that they did it this way, allowing us to pick our own tree as opposed to just getting a random tree. I don't know if that had something to do with the previous year where they were just getting a random tree. People weren't quite happy with what they got or something. I don't know, but this was interesting. I thought it was great, and I don't know how to play poker or anything. And even though I got second pick and I won second, Ryan was like, he leaned over and said, I thought you said you didn't know how to play poker, and like, I don't, but I know what a pair is. So that's how I ended up winning, because I had 2 pairs.
Well, they allowed us to. They said horse trade, right? Like after the picks, if anybody wanted to trade, but nobody wanted to trade, so I guess it all worked out. Nobody seemed that upset with what they got.
Yeah, I mean, I lost at the poker round, and at first I was definitely like a little panicky about it, but I think in the end it was fun, and frankly, I don't know. I'm happy with the tree I got, and I don't know that I would have picked something that would have, I don't know, done me any better. So I liked it.
Yeah, what was your take, Julius?
It was very surprising. You got to remember how to play cards again. Yeah, it was crazy. And with that, you'll be able to have more time with you guys and pick everybody's brain during that round. Yeah, I think it's fair enough that the trees are in good condition. They look good, and yeah, everything worked out fine.
Yeah. I think all the trees had their strengths and weaknesses. I mean, there was no one tree I think that was above and beyond a better material than the rest. I mean, it was nothing like the trees that Sooth and Morrow got to work on. Those short little stumpy ones. Those were amazing. You know, those had built-in character. Ours were basically more of a older nursery stock. Still some character, some movement in it, but not a lot of amazing features for any of us to really go, oh, okay, this one's going to definitely be better than the next one. And I think we all did really good work with what we saw and what we picked and the vision we had for our trees.
Totally. Yeah, and I like that component actually. It definitely added a little bit of stress. Like you have an additional difficult decision to make, but I think that's another variable and goes into the competition aspect. So I thought it was kind of fun to get to choose. And I like that there was more than 6 trees. So it wasn't like somebody's left with the last tree. Like everybody got a choice, right? So that was cool to be able to choose still and not just be like, oh man, I got the last tree, I'm screwed. Feel that way even if it were or weren't the case.
I'm curious, like, did any of you have an idea of what you wanted to do before you saw the tree? I mean, obviously we all had to be prepared to adapt, but did any of you like hope for something in particular so that you could make a particular style?
Not me. No.
I can go into that actually a little whenever I get to my reflection period, but I did have some kind of preconceived notions.
No, for me, the tree that I like was the one that Ryan got. I was hoping that would be, but I just told myself, hey, just whatever you get, just work on it. How you really work on trees.
Funny, I like the one that you got too.
You should have tried.
Kind of a double trunk. I thought hard about getting that one, and I just broke down and took the one I took. But I really liked yours.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that whole mother-daughter thing going on with his tree when I was looking at the material. I didn't see that second trunk. I like those. I have a couple of those kind of trees in my garden that are
Same.
kind of a mother-daughter kind of stuff.
Yeah, whenever folks were picking their trees, like what were the criteria you were using? Yeah, I'm curious about what thoughts were going through folks' head.
We should go in the order of who
first.
picked. Yeah, you
Sure.
first.
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, I had a full, I had the full Monty there available to me, so it was actually tough. There were probably 3 trees that I was very confident about because we did get to see the trees earlier in the day, and I'd kind of roughly gone if I get to pick one of these 3 would be best for me. Yeah, I mean, I went with basically my thought was I wanted to showcase heavy bends. So I wanted to get one of the thicker trees that would have primary structure that was larger. And so I chose one of the larger trees out of the trees chosen. And then I wanted, good movement through the trunk. I was kind of thinking these trees lend themselves well to an informal upright style. So I want good movement if possible and a strong base. And then I want to try to have some amount of symmetry where the primary structure kind of that I could envision using kind of emerges on each side of the tree. So that was the kind of criteria I used to kind of narrow it down. And then, I think I was kind of between my tree and Danny's tree. I think Danny, you chose second maybe. And then I chose my tree over that one because I thought there was the ability to make a more compact tree with more symmetry in my tree versus Danny's tree. And so it was interesting to see what Danny ended up doing with his that didn't conform to kind of that preconceived notion that I had going into the competition. So yeah, that was kind of my decision process. There were also some of the smaller ones, which I thought were really cool, but I was just thinking hey, I want to showcase these heavier bends. And so I need thicker primary branches to be able to do that. And so that's why I chose that, one of the largest trees.
Yeah, for me, I think when I chose second, I was kind of I had kind of when we all kind of looked at the trees, I think I had a general idea which one I wanted to work on, and that was the one you were looking at a lot, Addison. So I was like, oh, please don't choose that one. I want that one. Because I kind of, I don't want to say it spoke to me, but I had a connection with it right away. I knew, looking at it, I knew what I wanted to do with it. I knew it wasn't going to be a short, compacted tree. There wasn't enough of a base for that. And it lacked a lot of taper, so it was very tall and very long. And a lot of the interest didn't happen till more further up the trunk. I didn't have that interest further down. But I liked the turn in it that I saw. I saw that I can make something natural out of the shari going up the trunk that wouldn't be artificial. It would be very natural and flowing up the full length of the trunk. And I kind of saw, okay, this branch is going to go, so that shari can go all the way up. That live vein will just wrap around really nice, create a full 360, almost a full 360 around the trunk. So that's the one I chose, and plus I extended it up. I wanted it tall, I wanted it long, I wanted it feminine, and yeah, that's kind of like the way I went into it with that one when I chose that one.
Like I said, I kept looking hard at the one that Julius got. I thought I was probably going to take that one, but in the end, I thought I'll just go with this other one because it's got a little more interest right away out of the ground and a little more movement down low, and then I can make just a smaller, more compact tree with it. It's funny because I have another tree that I got from Ed that's very similar in the trunk, and it's the tree I use in my logo on my Apex Bonsai Studio logo. Had that tree and done it at home, that tree would have looked completely different because I would have known in 3 years this would be this tree if I did it this way. But the way I styled it, because of having 8 hours, I styled it completely different than I would if I was just making a tree at home. But like I said, I think everybody got a tree that they were pretty happy with, and all the material was fairly similar, so I wasn't too upset with what I got.
Can you double click on that? What do you mean by you styled it completely differently than you would have at home?
So when I'm doing like a demo or a tree that's, the thing is that tree is going to be judged that night, right? So I can't have a tree that is looked unfinished and is not ready to be looked at by the end of the night. So like my logo tree, there's progression pictures. If you look on my Instagram or Facebook or something, probably it's on there, but there was like nothing on there. It was just a wispy thing for a couple of years, and now it's filled out and looks good. If I had done that day, it would have been a pretty lackluster tree. So I styled it smaller and more traditionally than I would have if I had been expecting to grow it out over time.
So yeah, before we made we've started the picks. I looked at all the trees, and the one that Ryan got was the one who's, as Daniel said, is like the tree that was speaking to him. So that was the one that I kind of had a connection with. But yeah, I just let everybody pick. I don't want to stress on it not being picked. But when Addy and Daniel got theirs, I was like, oh, we're still there. Still have a chance. And then I saw Ryan going back and forth to the one that I got in history. So I was like, oh, I still have it. And then when he picked it, I was like, okay, I need to adapt. And the next interesting one is the one that I got, because it's got the smaller tree attached to it, the daughter. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna make something out of this. Yeah, that's why I chose that, because of the smaller tree feature in it.
Makes sense.
So I picked last, and I guess I had the choice between the two remaining trees. And is that right? I don't really remember. That last one was kind of a stepchild. I don't remember exactly what it was about it, but nobody seemed to want it. So the one I ended up with, it kind of, I don't know, it didn't have great taper and had a little bit of a C shape in the trunk. But it's what I got, and it's what I went with. It was, again, the material wasn't like drastically different. It was equally good and equally challenging, I think. And it's always, part of the bonsai process is evaluating up front, right? And that's a whole skill in and of itself. And just like styling a tree, it can be challenging without a lot of practice to like evaluate a tree, especially when it's this really full, overgrown, wild juniper, and being able to visualize where you can go with it. Yeah, so I got it and I went with it.
Were there other trees that did you look at the other trees previously and were like, oh, I was eyeing this one or that one? Or if you would have had any choice, which one do you think you would have gone for?
I don't really think that I was super turned on to any of them in particular. I think that I was probably a little bit flustered by seeing all of them together and trying to differentiate between the 6 of them when we were looking at them all together. So Yeah, I don't know. It's fate. It just landed.
Yeah, definitely it was a bit overwhelming. Cool. So I want to kind of dive into, can we talk a little bit about like everybody's timeline during the event? Like, how did you feel like you were doing during the event? Like, what went well, what didn't go well? And then I'd also love if you want to talk about a little bit about your strategy going into the competition, would be interesting too. So maybe we can kind of go reverse order. I don't know if you want to chime any in, but
Let's see. I definitely felt like, I practiced a lot leading up to this. Of course, not as much as I would have liked to, as we talked about in the last pod. And, I felt pretty confident going into it. And when the timer started, it just went out the window for me. And it was just like, I didn't have the sort of mindfulness to sit and evaluate my steps and where I was going to go. It was like, I just am going to dive into this thing. I certainly had been looking at a lot of books and pictures of material and had a lot of images in my head, but it didn't necessarily mean like, oh, I'm going to get this tree that's going to work perfectly with what I'm thinking of. So yeah, I don't know. When I saw it and it had that kind of funky C shape, I was like, I'm just going to go off to one side with this thing and I'm going to commit to it and do it. And then I realized that, I didn't need to make some big bends. And by the time I got through my bends, I think we were well over, I don't know, a quarter, a third of the way into it. And I definitely started to panic a bit because there was a lot of work to do. And I don't know, I definitely found myself accelerating and accelerating up, and I worked up until the very last minute. So I don't know, my strategy was panic and wire. Uh, what was
your wiring looked really clean. So you panic wiring is your thing, I guess. But
Well, it was, thank you. I mean, looking at it up close, I'm like, all I can see is flaws. And, I understand wiring in principle and working my way out, but I definitely made some mistakes, and it was super frustrating to have to live with the mistakes. It's like, do I choose to cut this off and rewire it so that, you know, the wiring is perfect, or do I just keep going with it? And obviously that's what I did, is kept going with it. And yeah, so pretty happy with how that worked out. I don't know, kind of jumping into the reflection part a little bit, I'll just say up front, like, because I found myself panicking so much for time, it was like, I need to do my best to get this as complete as possible, which meant that my fine work totally suffered. And, doing that kind of tree at home, I would spend a week on that easily. So everything just kind of went out the window in terms of being able to be super methodical and think about it. And I was just like scrambling to get something finished. And, and then the whole tension between building something that looks good in the moment versus building something that can have potential down the road and doing the right thing horticulturally. It's always interesting to see how that plays out and how it gets judged. I'll, I don't know. I'm interested in the long-term camp, but that wasn't necessarily how it was judged. And I'm not surprised, because that's how the competition works. I don't know.
Do you know who bought your tree? Like, are you going to be able to see it down the road?
Yeah. So I have it because a very generous club member of ABAS, so the Sacramento Club, bought it and gifted it to me. So I can't say how friggin' happy I am
that's so
that
cool.
it landed back in my life. Yeah.
That
That's
is
awesome.
very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Super generous.
Yeah, so going to the contest, and everybody was asking me, "Hey, how's it? How was the competition?" I was like, my only response is, "It's the shortest 8 hours of my life." I thought that when I looked at the tree, I told myself, "Oh, I think I'm gonna be done with this before the first half." So and then I kept looking at my watch. Oh my goodness, it's almost like an hour, 2 hours more, an hour more. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of panic, and yeah, but yeah, as Ian said, it would have been styled differently, but at home. But yeah, that's the competition. That's just how it is, and us trying to show a tree that build. Oh, I mean, create something out of that tree that would look during that time is that's good enough. It's very what do you call it? You get pressured by that versus taking it slow, doing one step at a time. But yeah, that's fun because you get to test how your critical thinking goes under pressure, and it also trains you for your next steps because one day, who knows, we will be doing more demos. We get invited to a lot of gatherings, and that's gonna be shorter because usually the club meetings are 2 hours, 3 hours, and you have to create something out of it. So it's a good training, and definitely learned a lot from that. And yeah, all the lessons are gonna be implemented to the future works moving forward.
That's awesome. Yeah, strategy, and then like kind of a play-by-play of what were your
I didn't
thoughts
have
during the
strategy.
during the styling.
Well, I think I said in the last podcast, like I've been like horsewhipped into going for speed on these things because I'm used to an hour and a half long demos, right? So after I pick the tree, my main first thing is just establish a front. What's the best base and line over base on our juniper for me, but what's the best front? And then I remove anything that doesn't work with the front, and then I just start going. So I started just cutting stuff off I knew wasn't going to work. And I had a couple of friends that had come to support me. A friend of mine named Kyle and another one named Ernie, and my girlfriend was there. And they all came up and like, you need to slow down. Like, you got 8 hours. I say, well, it just looks like I'm going fast because I'm cutting off the stuff that doesn't work in the front. But after that, I just slowed down. I think I spent like an hour and a half cleaning the bark and just tried to make a tree. Like my main goal was to save as much interior foliage as possible because like I was looking at your tree, Addison, and your tree, Daniel, and you guys had much more usable foliage. Like it was green. Mine was gray, and Julius's was gray. Those two trees were very, very shaded out. And in the end, I had a tree where I kept as much interior foliage as possible, and then I put neem oil on it and tried to make it look green, like for a little bit. But I had one green section on the top right of the tree, where that particular branch was the only one that was green that was left, and everyone said, "Oh, your tree is very it's too dense. You left too much on the top right. It's the same as everything else. It's just green, you know." But yeah, that was my main goal as I was going through it was try to save as much foliage as possible because what I had was unhealthy. So I had to keep as much of it as possible for the health of the tree and just try to. I didn't want to make too small of a tree. I wanted to elongate the height a little bit and make a tree that was proportionate to the trunk. But I didn't go into it with any kind of design in mind. The way I approach a tree is find the front, do the first branch, and then just make the rest of the tree that works with the first branch and see what I end up with. Like I had no idea what the tree was going to look like.
Makes sense. Yeah, very. Did you? So you kind of felt. Yeah, I noticed that you finished. Maybe 6 hour, maybe 4 to 6 hours in. I think you kind of forced yourself to do some more stuff, but you didn't feel like there was like more stuff that you could do at that time on the tree, right? You kind of felt like, hey, I'm done.
Well, at that point, I was like blind to the tree. You know what I mean? Like I've been looking at it for so long, and I didn't take a lunch break or anything. I just kept going. I think I was done at like 5.5 hours. And then I walked away and I went upstairs and I looked at Morrow doing his California Juniper for a minute. And then I came back and I looked at it with fresh eyes and I adjusted a couple things, but I didn't want to change what I had done too much. I was pretty happy with what I'd done. There was a few things like looking at it 2 days later, I was like, damn, I wish I'd done a couple of things. But for the most part, it like in the moment, like for me, I think that's the best tree I've ever done. And like just like in public in a one sitting in public, you know what I mean? Like I did a tree today in my yard in 8 hours that was much better than that tree, but there was nobody watching me. You know what I mean? So like in a public setting, I think that's probably the best tree I've ever done. So I was pretty happy with it.
It definitely came out looking great. Danny?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan's tree was outstanding. I wish I'd had that luxury to, spend some time doing some beauty pageant tricks to clean up my tree and stuff, little duct tape under the pecs to perk it up a little, but I didn't have that luxury of time. And I actually took a 30-minute lunch and totally regretted it because I went down to the wire working on my tree through fault of my own. I mean, I wire slowly but I wire methodically, and I'm always thinking like, where am I going to wire? Where I'm going to pair the best pairings? And I try to use this minimal amount of wire. If I had one complaint about this thing was the fact that we had to share the wires, and it was as far away from me as it could possibly be, and I was always having to step past Addison and almost past Ryan just to get some wire and to use. So I think that slowed me down quite a bit as well, because I was grabbing pieces, cutting pieces, and then walking back and then wiring something and then going, okay, I need another wire. I had to walk all the way back to go get some more. It just interfered with my flow.
Our wiring was also mislabeled. You notice that? The 16 and the 18 was the same size.
Yeah. I noticed. I was like, there's no way this is 18.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was a little bit flustered, because I was like, yeah, how am I going to do all this detail wiring when I have to walk back to, stand up and walk away from the table to get 16 or 18 gauge every time. So I actually just bought wire because I wasn't,
I saw that.
I knew
saw
how
that you
long
bought
it was
your
going
own.
to take me to do the tree. So I think that would definitely be an area for improvement.
Peter told me ahead of time, bring your own wire. And I was like, okay, I will. And I'm glad I did.
I think getting back to your original question when you were asking about as far as the game plan and my thoughts when I first started, I think initially my game plan was to just clean the tree, see what's going on. I removed all the stuff, lower branches that were all the gray shaded out ones, the unhealthy ones, because I knew I had plenty of green up at the top, and I had already had the inclination of making a taller tree, so I knew I had a ton of choices up at the top. I wanted to create some dead wood, and just slowly as I started cleaning it all came together, and I just left everything as long as I could until I realized where I was going to place it and shorten where I need it, left it long where I wanted it. Just kind of creating a bit of a asymmetrical design to the tree, creating that shari that met up with all that dead wood. I overdid the dead wood, but again, that's something if I had more time, I definitely would have gone back and shortened certain pieces, certain gins, brought those down. I don't think I would have wired any of those gins the way Morrow suggested. That was one of the things kind of like Ryan Neal always tells us, it says like, wiring dead wood, it never sticks, it never stays. It looks cool in the moment while it's drying, but after a while when you take off that wire, it'll lose that interest that you had put into it. So normally what I do, if I know I'm going to keep something and make it into a gin and I want to create extra movement into it, I'll leave it alive with that wire on for at least a year and then take off the wire and then gin it, and that way all that movement I put into that for that future deadwood will stick. But of course we didn't have that luxury. But yeah, I mean there was a lot of going back and forward after the event of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to touch. I wanted to move this branch there. I could have shortened a little bit more to the left side. I could have extended more to the right, and I just didn't have the time. But it was great. It was a great competition, and looking at everybody else's trees as well, and how you guys attacked your trees. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, my main question is, after you, of course, you talk about your strategy, Addison. I want to know what was on everybody's playlist, because we were all like focused. We were all focused, listening, got our headphones on, ignoring the crowds. I had nobody in front of me, which was kind of sad. I think I got a little bit of Addison's crowd, because he had like people with little giant Addison faces on sticks cheering him on. But that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that took me by surprise. That was pretty fun. Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. After this, let's I want to hear what's on everybody's playlist.
Took you by surprise about how to heart attack when I looked up. Jesus Christ. All of a sudden there's like 3 enormous heads.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that my friends were gonna intimidate the competition, so it didn't work. But no, I'm just kidding. It was definitely a boost during the competition, so that was fun.
Yeah, almost. I about pissed myself too when I looked up and I'm like,
Yeah, that was really funny. I kept one of them, so now I've got that in my closet. Hopefully it doesn't scare me one of these days on accident. Yeah, I think I overthought the competition a little bit. I was strategizing going into it. I was thinking, okay, based on the last competition that I saw, the material's all fairly similar. It's going to be kind of, there's going to be minimal interior foliage, and it's going to be kind of fit for a informal upright design. So how can I differentiate my bland informal upright from somebody else's informal upright? And so my thought process was, okay, like I felt like Mike Costello in the last competition that I saw had a really, really clean wiring. And so I was like, okay, let me try to differentiate on like A, showcase difficult techniques, and B, showcase like extreme cleanliness of foliage. So clean the bottoms on every single branch, have really clean lines, have really clean wiring. And so I actually spent a lot of time during the competition. Like I redid a piece of structural wire that was technically fine, but I felt wasn't as visually appealing. And then I think I spent 3 out of the 8 hours doing like detail wiring, cleaning out every piece of growth that I didn't feel was like from a picture standpoint would like like disrupt the cleanliness of the lines. So I spent a ton of time on that. And then I felt like that was probably misspent time, in that the judging, like we didn't know what the judges were going to judge based on, right? So that was my strategy, was to like differentiate based on that. And I felt like I executed that fairly well. But I don't think the judges mentioned anything about like, oh, like the wiring quality or the degree of like pad cleanup or refinement. Like those weren't things that I think they judged based on. And I would actually say, I think Mauro even said something like, oh, like you took off too much foliage. And so I definitely think that I put a lot of effort into stuff that like was tangentially not really applicable to the competition. But yeah, I was really happy with like during the competition, I was on a pretty good trajectory time-wise. I was really fast. I felt like I was really good on like the cleanup and like finding the design in the front and getting down to like my key structural branches. I lost a little bit of time in the structural wiring because I redid a little bit of it. And then I think I made up a lot of time in like the actual detail wiring section but I think I got a little bit lost in the weeds, where I was really focused on like, oh, does this line look really clean in a picture? And like, they didn't even look at the tree from my front, right, per se. Like they just walked by it, right? Or like looked at it from a standing position to the side. And so all that time I spent like optimizing for this like photo perspective, I think was not optimal. But I thought they were actually very, based on my perception of how they judged, I thought they were very consistent in their judging. I just think I optimized for some things that weren't within the rubric. So yeah, but I had a lot of fun, and I felt like it was actually, I think I did, like the time was okay for me. I think I did what I would have done on the tree at my house. Like I would have stopped at that point anyways. Maybe if I would have been able to take some breaks, I might have like stepped back and adjusted some of the actual like design. But I think in terms of like the work and the wiring, like I wired every single tiny branch that I would have like wired to the nth degree. So I felt like I was like timing wise, I felt pretty prepared and okay with it. So yeah, that was kind of my experience. But yeah, I worked like 8 hours straight. I didn't even take time for lunch or anything like that. I was really kind of in the zone there. So, and maybe if I would have stepped back and looked at some of the other trees, I would have understood like, oh, okay, so this is, I was also actually really surprised by, I was like, okay, it's kind of bland material. We'll see everybody do an informal upright. But there were a ton of really creative designs. I loved the asymmetry of Daniel's. I thought Ian's and Matthew's with the cascading feel, like that took me by surprise. I didn't expect anybody to go that direction with the material. I really liked Julius's kind of two-tone display. I thought Ryan's and I's were the most of what I was expecting. I was like, okay, everybody's going to do an informal upright with, a slightly directional design, but fairly symmetrical. So I was actually really surprised and very excited and impressed to see everyone do something really creative. So that was really fun for me to see.
I thought yours was right on par with Mike Costello's the last time, And the last time when Bjorn was the judge, he did comment on the quality of the wiring and that sort of thing. So, I was looking at yours thinking, okay, he did a really good job. Like I'm looking at a picture of Mike's and I'm looking at yours, and they're like, very, very similar. They're on par.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to emulate. I was like, okay, I'll just do this, like make a slightly wide design with really clean wiring, and maybe that will get me the first place like it did in the last competition. But I think that that was probably my biggest mistake, was you all came with really interesting designs and also really good work. And so I think the judges, to me, like my perception of how they judged my tree was accurate. And I just thought, the competition upped a lot. So it was really inspiring to have that to work towards. So yeah, I'm interested in, I think that is a good question on Daniel's question of what was on everybody's playlist. I was definitely like zoned in. My thought was, let me get through the structural wiring and then I can come out of the think tank. Like I can take my headphones off and have a little bit more fun, because that's a big, I think, milestone. Kind of 2 hours, 3 hours in, I wanted to be done with all that structural work. I don't want to go first because I want to see if anybody else reveals their embarrassing song that they had on their playlist. So somebody else take the reins.
You were jamming to that Taylor Swift, man. Full blast, Serena Carpenter.
It's worse than
Sabrina
that.
Carpenter,
It's worse
yeah.
than that. It's worse.
Worse than that? Lady Gaga? No? All right. I ain't got nothing else beyond that.
Nobody's gonna go.
Playlist. I'll go first then.
Yeah.
I usually listen to Nuja Bass when doing trees. It's like a Japanese DJ. He passed away a long time ago from an accident, but he always features different artists and he just does the beats for them. So every song is different because it's a different artist every time. So that's what I listen to, and it's very relaxing as well. So that's the one that I was playing again and again the whole time.
But the music for you, is it kind of something that just creates a nice calming white noise in the background as you're focusing on the tree? Or do you feel like it's helping you inspire the design, the flow, the energy as you're working on your tree?
Second part.
Same part.
Because it's got lots of different beats and different sounds in it. So it's like stimulating your mind to become more artistic. That's for me. But yeah, it really helps me a lot. And some songs you can sing along. So it calms you down as well while you're working and getting inspiration from it. So one song is like Think Different. It's just saying, is the glass half full or half empty? It's based on your perspective, quite simply. And then the end of it, it's like I'm not better than you. I just think different. So something
Are
like
there
that.
lyrics or is it just music?
Lyrics as well.
Lyrics
So
as well.
sometimes he features like rappers from different genres as well. So they rap to his beats. So yeah, it's really good.
Nice.
I just went with the dance punk playlist because it was easy to listen to and it was super motivating towards the end when the pressure was building to just kind of jam and actually move my body a little bit to some LCD sound system. So that's what I was doing.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't look over at you guys at all through the whole thing, so I know everybody was focused, and Ian, I saw you with your big DJ headphones on and stuff like that. So I knew you were probably listening to something good. And I think I told Ryan this. So we were outside, having a drink and by the fireplace, and I was saying is like for my playlist, I didn't listen to any music. I actually listened to an audiobook. I was listening to a story the whole time, and for me, it's interesting because listening to the book, I'm able to I'm hearing the story. I feel like I'm watching a movie the whole time in my head while I'm working on the tree. So it's interesting that I was able to actually multitask on the two things, listening to the story.
Yeah, I feel like I would have gotten
stories.
distracted. Yeah, that's interesting.
Right? I mean, but for me, it actually helped me focus on the tree because I was letting the tree do its thing without me having to force myself on it while I was watching a movie. And it distracted me from a lot of the anxiety I was already feeling for the time pressure, which I didn't feel in the morning. It wasn't until the afternoon I really started stressing. But it's interesting because I'll be listening to the audiobook and people will come up and talk to me. And I can't listen to the audiobook and talk to somebody, so I would have to pause. But I have no trouble working on a tree listening to an audiobook at the same time. And that relaxes me. That calms me listening to the audiobook. I don't know. It's weird.
So what book was it?
It was the fourth book in a series called the King Fall stories. I'm right now. I'm deep into these magical kind of fiction stories and stuff like that.
Fantasy stuff, huh?
Fantasy stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's this one one narrator. What's his name? Gerard Reynolds, something like that. And I've listened to so many books that he has read, and he just has the perfect narration voice for these type of books, and I just get lost because I can picture all the different characters from the way he voices everybody. You know, even the females, they may not sound female, but I picture a female when he's doing their voices. Yeah, for me it was an audiobook the whole 8 hours.
That's
Not me,
impressive.
man. I don't even have headphones. I had to borrow my girlfriend's for this. I don't listen to music. I don't. If I'm listening to something, it's like a podcast about Star Trek. I don't. I just
Nice.
there's nothing I love more than working on trees. So I don't need a distraction. I just work on the tree, man. I don't. I didn't have.
Yeah, yeah. For me, mine's more of just like repetitive bass music in the background and my main thing was I just didn't want people pestering me while I was trying to puzzle through these really tough kind of structural moves. And so that's why I felt like, okay, I'm just going to put these headphones in so that I'm a little less approachable, like people aren't trying to talk to me. Because that I think would have kind of thrown my rhythm a bit. But yeah, I was listening to like this bass music playlist, and then I just watched K-pop Demon Hunters, and on my SoundCloud I had like subscribed to a like 1 hour loop of Golden, so I accidentally landed in the 1 hour Golden loop for an hour. So that was kind of
Wow.
funny, but
I'm surprised you didn't just shoot yourself
I
right
think
there.
I think I did change it at some point. I was like, all right, now this is getting a little distracting. But for me, it's not about like the actual music or the lyrics or like it's just about. It was nice to have that kind of like just background noise, and in the competition environment where there's a lot of people and noise around, it was about like reducing the distractions, kind of like white noise.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of my strategy too. Like, I don't normally listen to music when I'm working. I wanted to a little bit, but also people coming up to chat. And like, I have no problem, especially with friends coming up to say, hey, good luck. But, there's always the person that's like wants to talk about everything, like related to the tree or not. And it's like, this is not the time to have a conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, and I get it what Ryan was saying about him not wearing headphones and stuff because you're very used to and comfortable doing demos in front of clubs and people, of course it would be rude if you had headphones on while you were doing that for them. So I get it that you're probably more practiced in that sense and not having that kind of stuff going on. But what about at home when you're by yourself? What do you got going?
Nothing. I just work on trees.
Really?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Absolute silence?
my phone is constantly going off because, I have a full-time job and I'm the head of the union for my job too. So people are always calling me for stuff. I don't If I play this song, I never get through it. Like my phone is constantly going off. So I'm working on a tree for 2 minutes and then answering a 10-minute phone call and then working on a tree for 2 minutes. And
Well, you're gonna have to share some of those Star Trek podcasts that you listen to. Recommend a good one. I mean, I love Star Trek.
oh, don't get me started here, man. This whole thing will take a whole different direction.
Okay, Star Trek podcast is a different podcast. We're all about bonsai here.
Lots of bonsai and Star Trek.
Are there really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. You'll have to point out some good episodes to watch for maximum bonsai. Are they actually good bonsai or it's like Karate Kid level?
No, they're mostly dead.
Ah, okay. Classic. Maybe they're an alien species of bonsai.
There was a botanist in one of the series, Japanese botanist. There was always bonsai around their room, but they were always like dead and painted green or whatever.
Well,
They're
that's
bad.
funny. That's unfortunate. Ian and I were talking, was this after the competition, Ian, or before? But we were like, okay, we've so much of our practice this year or our learning journey in bonsai has been focused on this event. And now that it's done, what comes next? Like there's not that compelling event to focus on. So I'm curious for everyone, like if you felt any of that emptiness, and then also, if or if not, what's next for you? What's everyone's next focus? I think I already know Ryan's answer, but curious to hear from everyone.
Well, for me, I mean, not much has changed. I got a lot of kudos and congratulations from some of my club members and stuff that here in the Santa Barbara Bonsai Club. That was kind of cool. A couple of people that I that's so funny. Todd Schlafer was in town and he was presenting at our club this last weekend, and I went up to him and he's like, "Hey, congratulations!" Gave me a hug and stuff like that. and we talked about it a little bit, and I mentioned about giving credit to a lot of, people I learned from. He goes, "Oh yeah, I saw that you had left me out in your little thank yous of teachers that you've studied with." I go, "Oh, I didn't mean it that way, Todd," because I've studied with him a couple of times and stuff like that. So, but he was a good sport about it. But yeah, not much has changed for me. Just kind of still chugging along. I'm still working on my trees and improving my trees, improving myself and how I look at these trees. I want to work on them more as an artist as opposed to doing it, as a side kind of gig. That wasn't really my thing or the reason why I wanted to do it. I wanted to challenge myself when I did this competition and see where I was, because I personally didn't feel like I could compete. Not because I didn't feel like I was good enough, but just I didn't feel like I had the discipline to do it for 8 hours the way we did. For me, that was enough. That would have been more than enough for me. Just knowing that I had finished it, got to the finish line with all you guys, and that would have been a win for me in itself. Just because of that, because I do take my time with my trees. Because I want, every time I'm working on them, I want them to be as good as they can be. And for me, that takes a little time.
That's awesome. I'm waiting for Ryan to say, "I'm just going to keep doing bonsai."
That's it, man. Just keep doing bonsai. Yeah. I don't know. I'm curious, like, you guys all belong to clubs, right? Did your clubs like ask you to do a demo or anything like after this? Sounds like, Addison, you were nodding your head. They asked you to do something?
Yeah, two or three of my club members have already asked me to kind of style some trees for them on the side. So I worked on one last weekend, and I'm picking one up this next weekend. So that's fun. And then I had Bob Scheinman reached out to me to do a demo for them next year, and so I really want to like push myself, and like I'm a little nervous about it, right? Because it's 2 hours instead of 8 hours. But
it's less than 2 hours, my friend.
Yeah, it's gonna feel
they
really
talk
quick.
For half an hour of it. You got an hour and a half.
Okay, that's good advice to have. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a little nervous for it, but I feel like that's that next thing, right? I got to keep pushing myself and getting these opportunities to style fun trees. And then, I felt like getting to meet all of you and, seeing all the work that you're posting on Instagram and stuff like that is like a motivator for me. I got to meet Kyle, your friend Ryan, as well. So I met a ton of cool people, and I feel like I'm already starting to feel the pickup of like, oh, hey, like you were in that competition, like people noticed, and they want to keep seeing you improve. So yeah, I'm scared but excited, so it's good.
Ian, Julius?
So I'm lined up to give a talk on pest control in January, which is like the most exciting topic ever, but it's what I do for a living. So yeah, I'm usually talking about pest control or irrigation. I don't see myself necessarily doing any of the traditional demo stuff, mostly because I have too many trees that I need to be working on at home. And I potentially have another kind of big life change coming up that would involve relocating. And it's always sort of stressful to figure out how my trees are gonna travel and find a new home. So I'm still on the perpetual journey of downsizing and optimizing my collection. But the problem is I really love collecting Yamadori and acquiring as well. So it's hard to balance those things. Oh, and then I'm on the board for ABA Sacramento, which is its own time commitment. And I write the newsletter as well, it's a fun outlet for sure, but it's also time I don't get to spend working on my trees. Juggling all of those things is what I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, it was an incredible day. And I mean, for me, so much of my attention was focused on that day leading into it. And it was one of the most challenging and fulfilling days of my life. And I frankly love that kind of thing. I wouldn't want to do it once a week. But yeah, it was kind of rough for me for a few days afterwards, like trying to figure out what to do now. A little bit of the mono no aware, the beauty of the fleetingness of things I felt. But that passed. And yeah, I don't know. It was a fantastic.
Time heals all wounds.
Time heals all wounds. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny how we're on a similar wavelength, I feel like, Ian. What were my thoughts coming out? I mean, I I was really impressed with everyone's designs, and coming into the composition, I was so focused on like, oh, I just need to get my technical skills good enough to be able to complete the tree in 8 hours. And so I wasn't as focused on that in my own practice. And I think that showed in my design. Like I thought it was a little blander and a little more ambiguous than a lot of the designs. So that's a big focus for me going forward is like, yes, I need to keep improving my technical skills, but the technical skills are in service of making an awesome tree, right? And I think you can't, I think that was something that I lost sight of a little bit. And I'm excited to, keep consuming and seeing all this awesome work that everyone's doing and improve my own level. I think I had a lot of fun during the competition. I think I was a little bit maybe melancholy a bit as well after the competition, just like seeing that, I wasn't expecting to win or something like that, but I did want to like do well in the eyes of the judges. And I felt like I didn't place that well in the context of the actual competition part compared to my expectations. So that had me down for a little bit. And then I went to a class a few days afterwards, and I'd been so focused on junipers all year. Somebody gave me a pine and I like had no idea what I was doing with it. So both of those experiences kind of piled up, and I was like, dang, I've been putting so much time into this. Like, I feel like I should be getting better. And I think that hit me for a little bit, but now I'm back on the excitement of like, hey, the goal is get good, and it's a journey, and we just keep improving over time. So this isn't something where I think if you put the effort in over a long enough time period, you're going to continue to improve. And yes, it's tough and difficult, but as long as you're incrementally improving all the time, I hope I'll get to where I want to go. So that's kind of my kind of synopsis. And then like Ryan was saying, I want to try to keep the momentum of this styling going. So I want to try to work on more trees with club members, work on more of my own trees, and continue taking classes with the folks I am to continue getting better. So very excited for that continuation.
For me, what I did when I went home was like all the inspirations and all the lessons that I got from the event. I think I want to work on this tree and probably whatever I got from there implement in this one. So yeah, I started working on refining my trees right here. I haven't been acquiring any more trees as of now because we're in a transition phase with my family. They just got over here, trying to focus on being as stable as possible with them for now. My goal right now would be to be more helpful with the club, and always being able to guide the newer members, because we acquired a lot of new members this year because of the event, the county fair where we displayed our trees. So we just do one beginner workshop in a year, but this year we have to do 3, so it tripled. So right now I'm helping with teaching the new ones. Yeah, hopefully I can present something that then I'll be helpful to development of new members. Just keep working on the trees that I have, and yeah, keep improving. That's all for me.
Awesome. So I guess to kind of wrap up, what's everyone's advice to the next competitors in the Joshua Roth, or people that are interested in competing in Joshua Roth? Like, would you recommend the experience, and what would you tell folks that want to do it?
You first.
Gosh, okay. I would say absolutely do it. I think for a lot of us, we saw it as a whetstone to motivate us to improve, right? So I think if you want to get better at bonsai, setting yourself an ambitious and slightly uncomfortable goal is 100% well worth it. As far as advice, I don't think there's crazy advice. I would recommend you practice, and I think the only way that it would be a bad experience is if you weren't able to execute on what you wanted to in the time frame, right? So I would just focus on getting reps doing what you do. Like it was interesting that each of us kind of brought a different approach to the end look of the tree, right? They all didn't look the same, right? In how they were handled and the design and things like that. And I think that everybody should show up and do what they do, right? And feel like they executed well. And I think you won't have any regrets if you're able to do that. So that'd be my only advice.
Go Ryan.
I mean, should you do it? That's up to each individual person, right? Like, there were people last time that probably should not have done it, you know? So I can't say, yeah, everybody should do it.
Savage. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, man, am I wrong or not? Like, you know, some people, you know, everybody has to decide that for themselves, right? Like, it's hard to put yourself out there, especially if you've never done work like that in front of a live audience or, you know, in a live setting before. Like when I did my first demo, it was for my club at a show, and there was one person in the audience, and I was nervous as shit. You know what I mean? Like it was awful. You know, so it's hard to say, yeah, you should do it, but if you're trying to push yourself, you know, and you're trying to improve yourself, you have to put yourself out there, you know. So I would say if you're confident with where you are and your skills, yeah, everybody should do it. Like I think everybody this time did a great job. I was super impressed. I think the level this year was fantastic. Like, you know, I was looking at Addison saying he was nervous. He had his headphones in. Daniel saying he was nervous. Like, I was looking at those guys, and their trees were just killing it. Ian, he had a windswept. Like, there was a windswept in the last one, and it was Marcus's, who's a friend of mine, so I'm going to talk shit. But Marcus's was bad. Like, and he'll admit it was bad. He admitted it was bad during the speech that night, you know. But Ian's knocked his out of the park. And Julius had a really interesting design and he used the twin trunk. Like everybody did great. I was super happy the way everybody's turned out. You know, Matthews was freaking fantastic. You know, I already said I'm a Matthew Galacio fan, so screw you, Matthew, for not being here. But you know, should you do it? Yeah, I think if you're confident with who you are and where you are in your skills and your technique, you should do it. If you're not sure of yourself, I would say don't do it because it's a hard thing to do to get up in front of people and perform. You know what I mean? Like it's 8 hours and people are walking in and out and they're not like focused on you for 8 hours, but it still can be nerve wracking for a lot of people, you know. So I think that everybody this time did fantastic. So advice, same advice I had before in the last podcast, you know, just be true to yourself. If you have a certain style, certain way of doing things and you think I'm going to pander to these judges, like don't do that. Just do what's best for you. You know, do what you're comfortable with, do what you like, because that shows, right? If you're trying to do something that's not what you like because you think it's going to do better, it's not going to work out. So that's the only advice I have. And besides that, just have fun. Like, don't be nervous. Be confident in yourself. Don't be nervous. I know a lot of you guys were nervous this time, but you shouldn't have been. Everybody did fucking fantastic. How many bleeps are we going to have in this episode, by the way? Are we bleeping or not bleeping?
You know, I've never bleeped before, so Spotify's, I mean, maybe
We're all adults, man. We can
Yeah.
handle it.
All right, we'll just
I don't think it's I don't think the bonsai audience, if I look at my demographics, I think the average age is much above 30. So
60.
we'll probably survive with some bleeps or non-bleeps.
I don't think you need to slap a parental advisory label onto this podcast.
Probably not, yeah.
Well,
It'll
have you
be
heard
fun.
Caesar's podcast with Jonas?
Oh my God.
That one might need a parental advisory. That's true.
I had never met Caesar until that evening after the competition. It's like I'd heard about his character. He's a good character person. He has that certain kind of personality that where he uses those kind of words just kind of very, very casual. There's no meanness in it in the way he uses the words, but he does use them quite liberally.
I had lunch with Caesar this weekend.
To every part of his conversation. And
Yeah.
I was just laughing and listening.
I had lunch with Caesar this weekend. We were sitting next to a table with kids, and it was interesting.
Yeah.
So for me, if somebody asked me if they should do the competition, probably the same thing like Ryan said, is basically it's their decision. It's kind of, I wouldn't have done this without the encouragement of, ironically, that one guy that I'm having a bit of a tiff with in our club. He wholeheartedly pushed me to do this. He's like, you got this, you can do it, champ. You know, every time we talked about it, and like, did you put in your application yet? Did you send it to Michael Roberts? Did you do it? And he kept pushing me until I finally said, fine, I'll try it, I'll do it. You know, because it wasn't really anything that was on my mind that I wanted to do, but at the same time, at the back of my mind, I was like, I wanted to challenge myself. And I think that's the key thing. It's not a matter of, hey, I want to win the competition, but do I want to challenge myself? Is this something I want to put on myself, carry on my shoulders that I want to do to see if I can do it. And that's exactly why I did it. And then I would just tell them, it's hard to say have fun with it, because for me, I didn't realize I was having fun until it was all over. Once I got past all the anxiety, once it finally all ended, then I realized, looking back on it, it goes, yeah, it was fun. I was having fun doing it. I just didn't realize it at the time. For me, it was more panic-induced fun type of thing.
I was sitting
And
next to you, and there were some sweaty noises coming near the end of the competition. I don't know. You were huffing and
at
puffing.
the very end? Oh my God. I was looking at it, it's like I hadn't even had my Apex done. And I got 30 minutes to finish my Apex. I knew where it was.
You were twitching like you were on speed. You had like
I
8
was
Red
tweaking
Bulls,
out.
and your face was like. My girlfriend was like, "What is Addison okay?" I don't know.
See,
I think it's the Red Bull.
Yeah, I brought I don't drink caffeine almost at all. So Red Bull is like, okay, if I'm doing like a long haul overnight drive or something like that, I'll like bring it out once a year kind of thing. So I drank a Red Bull like 6 hours in, and I started like shaking at the end. I like couldn't. It was intense. So probably should have.
Addison was like this.
Relaxed
See
a
this
little
hand?
bit more.
See this hand? Steady as a rock. Yeah, but I wire with this hand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think I physically could have continued much longer working. Like I was pretty much spent. So definitely.
I don't know if you're allowed to reference that movie anymore, Daniel.
I know, right?
I get it.
I'm glad you caught it. I love that movie. That's the greatest movie in the world. And then for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, it's Blazing Saddles, Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddles. There's a scene in there with Gene Wilder. So anyways.
My favorites.
I digress.
Right. Yeah. Advice, if they should do it or not, I'm just gonna say that don't live in regret that what if I've done it, what if I joined. So if you're given the opportunity and asked by your club to submit an application for it, just do it. Just do your best to present your trees as beautiful as possible. And if you get chosen, then just do it with all your go full on. Practice, get advice from people, indulge into lots of bonsai pictures, videos. Then yeah, practice. Just keep practicing, focus on that. Calm down. Once you're there, remember what you've done, what you've been practicing on, and just present your tree as what fits you, what suits you. Also be ready to adapt, because yeah, as you don't know which tree you will get until it gets drawn, and then yeah, you just work on the tree as how you work on your trees and what suits your eye, and hopefully the judges will love it. And because everybody has their own taste, everybody's has their own thoughts, and it's a great experience. Only the ones that have done it can tell how fun and nerve-wracking.
Well, like I said in the last podcast, I kind of didn't even fully process what the competition entailed when I signed up for it. I mean, I saw it at the last rendezvous, so I wasn't completely oblivious, but it was just kind of casually mentioned in a board meeting, and somebody was like, "Oh, you should do it." I was like, "Okay," and signed up. And then, there were certainly moments leading up to it where it was like, "Oh, am I gonna just completely embarrass myself?" But as I practiced, I felt more and more confident for sure. And yeah, there is sort of a baseline of skill that's necessary. It's, you can't, I guess you could define it, but you have to know for yourself. Or I guess that's debatable. But yeah, there's a baseline of skill that has to be there to participate. But, if you don't push yourself, you also won't grow, right? So, and it goes without saying, bonsai is a practice in and of itself, and there's only one way to develop your own voice, and that is to practice and to just do the reps, but also to get out there and expose yourself to trees, books, visiting gardens, being fortunate enough to spend some time in like Peter T's garden for me has been pretty amazing. in sort of thinking about like what it's like to get into bonsai and to not be able to see really high quality material like that versus having the opportunity to really just immerse yourself in what is possible. So yeah, you got to just expose yourself and do those reps to really develop your own voice and get out there and do it. I keep talking about sort of being nervous and having anxiety, but with these sort of experiences for me, it's leading up to it. And then when it starts, I don't know, it just kind of goes away. And then I'm in it. And I had a little bit of stress about my time management for sure, but I kind of enjoy that kind of stress. I don't know, maybe I'm sick in the head, but there's so many different skills that go into this competition, and it's important to recognize that, right? It's not just about your technical skills. It's not just about your artistic skills. It's not just about your time management skills and all those. It's how it all comes together. And that's a really important thing, because I definitely ate it on my fine work. And there was a point when I realized I wasn't going to do what I know I'm capable of. And that's fine, because I was happy with the direction it went, sort of with the macro styling. So, I didn't win, but I won in my own brain with what I made, and I'm super happy with it. And I'm super fortunate to have that tree in my life now and to be able to continue with it, which is, that's a really special thing. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, I love that. I'm very curious to see if they can put up this many quality competitors in 2 years. I think we've got a really special class of people. So looking forward to continuing to grow with all of you in the bonsai community, and really happy of the kind of connections we made. Can everybody just sound off with how folks can reach out to you real quick? And then, we'll sign off for the night.
I'm Daniel Martinez. I'm on Instagram at My Bonsai Journey. You can follow me there and reach out to me on that channel.
That's My Bonsai Journey trademark symbol.
That's right. Anytime anybody says, during my bonsai journey, I should cash on that.
$5.
That's it.
Ryan Pitts. I'm on Instagram as Apex Bonsai Studio, and Facebook is Ryan Pitts.
Julius Clado, Juicy Bonsai. I'm on Instagram as Juicy the Hobbyist. So reach out.
If anybody went to the website I mentioned last time, I never updated it. So if you're wondering why there were blog posts about geology and not bonsai, then you were in the right spot. Yeah, I'm not on Instagram, but give me a call or send me a post something in the mail.
Hey man, I see you on Instagram as Bonsai Llama with 1 follower.
All right, you got
me. 0 posts.
You got me. I don't want to go there, but I think I have to. bonsai.ian.farm. Email me.
Awesome. Thanks everyone. Have a great night. And looking forward to more chats in the future.
Yeah.